Yes, after 2 weeks, I think, two satsangs, live satsangs I missed, and today I'm here. And whenever such gaps come and I have to talk again, I feel that it is as if I'm talking the same thing over and over again. But then I was also thinking that if we go through Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana or Srimad Bhagavatam, which are very big texts, even other texts, whether it is Ashtavakra Samhita, Viveka Chudamani, everywhere in all our sacred spiritual texts, always lot of repetitions are there because we forget. We tend to forget. We get carried away in the whirlpool of samsara, the worldly life, and it is really necessary to remember again and again what we have to remember. What is the truth of our existence, of our life. So I will start again, and I was thinking that however much I was trying hard on 16th February, I could not complete this Rishabha Charitam. So maybe I will repeat a little bit again, just taking a little, in summary, whatever I have done. I'll start with the shlokas first. Swamin namaste nataloka bandho karunya sindho patitam bhavabdho mamuddharatmiya kataksha drishtya rijvyati karunya sudhabhivrishtya Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste. Jnanasvarupam nijabhavayuktam Anandamanandakaram prasannam Yogindramedhyam bhavarogavadyam Srimadgurum nityamaham namami Srimadgurum nityamaham namami Nityaya satyaya chidatmakaya Navyaya bhavyaya paratparaya Shuddhaya buddhaya niranjanaya Namostu nityam Guru Shekharaya Namostu nityam Guru Shekharaya Namostu nityam Guru Shekharaya. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. See, this King Rishabha, who was none but Sri Hari or Mahavishnu himself, he was a very noble king, enlightened, a great devotee also, and he understood that people, especially the householders, they have forgotten what is the true aim of life. Even living in the household, that through all their activities, they must also seek moksha, the nishresa, that the householders have forgotten. And they are entangled in the household. They keep on doing work after work, activity after activity, get attached to everything. The I-ness and the mindness, they are bound by that. They have forgotten their real identity, and whatever belongs to them, they feel it is mine, and they are working only for that, to acquire more and more possessions and prosperity, looking after the family. So, to tell the whole world that this human life is not only for sensory pleasures. Through this human life, one has to seek liberation also. Not only dharma, artha and kama, but one must, in the life, while doing activities, while living the life, one must go forward, and more one should be seeking the nishreyasa, liberation, the supreme felicity of life. One has to understand that. So he wanted to show the whole world that this is our life form. And he not only lived that kind of a life, one day he called all his sons and started giving sermons. Said that whoever is intelligent and has lot of enthusiasm and has sattva guna, if such people, having had these qualities, they pursue 25 qualities which he has listed out, and he said that if one pursues these qualities, one will be able to cut asunder the I-ness, the feeling of this mistaken identity that I am the body, forgetting that I am the soul and not the body. This truth that I am the soul, I am the imperishable eternal soul, one has forgotten. So he says that, oh my children, to understand that you are the soul and you are not the body, to be removing this false notion, I sense of the body, mind and intelligence, to be doing so, please pursue these values, these qualities, and cultivate them. And as I've been explaining also, the first thing he said was, one must go to the feet of a Sadguru, fall at his feet, do service to him, and then ask him questions. He should tell the Guru to give him jnana, the real tattva, the spiritual knowledge by which one will be able to remember, or one will be able to get established in the real identity. And after that, one by one, he told many of the qualities that one should pursue. And as I was saying, he has given here 25. You will find, whether it is in Bhagavad Gita, whether it is in the other text, in Bhagavatam also, in many of the other skandhas and chapters, you will find that all these qualities, maybe additionally many more, have been listed out. What is that? If our aim is to get established in our real identity, which we have forgotten, and we are identified with our body, mind and intelligence, we have that aim that we have to realize the self. We have to pursue this path with lot of sincerity, lot of seriousness. And what we have seen in all this time, that since our mind is restless, mind is impure with desires and its tendencies, the self which is always there, which one is in reality, does not get revealed. So the mind has to be made quiet, pure. By what? By removing the desires and cultivating such qualities which will keep the mind quiet. Definitely, such tendencies, we are Rajasic and Tamasic in nature, will always make the mind agitated and disturbed. So one has to grow in Sattva Guna and cultivate such qualities, pursue such qualities which will be making the mind feel calm and tranquil. So he has listed these, and we were going through all that. And I will just read that one, anuvritya, that is whatever the Guru is saying, you follow it with Rishnaya. Or maybe I will read the sloka first. Hamse gurau mai bhaktya anuvritya vitrishnaya dvandva titikshaya cha sarvatra jantor vyasana bhagatya jidnyasaya tapaseha nivritya mat karma bhir mat kathaya cha nityam Maddeva Sangad Gunakirtanan me Nirvaira Samyopashamena Putra Jihasaya Deha Gehatma Buddhe Adhyatma Yogena Vivikta Sevaya Pranendriyatma Vijayena Sadryak Satshraddhaya Brahmacharyena Shashvad Asampramadena yamena vacham sarvatra madbhava vichakshanena jnanena vijnana virajitena yogena dhrityudyama sattva-yukto lingam vyapohet kushalohamakyam. He says, O my children, if one has dhriti, udyama and sattva. Dhrit yudyama sattva yukto. That is, one has this dhriti, udyama, patience, enthusiasm, discrimination, and all this. So, that person will be able to cut asunder the I sense, thinking that the body is I, will be able to feel and get established in the spiritual knowledge that I am the supreme reality, I am the eternal self. And saying this, he has said, you must go to the Guru. And all this we have discussed many, I think, in 2 sessions I have been discussing. So, one has to go to the Guru, one has to follow the Guru, one has to develop dispassion, then one has to be tolerant, persevering, and should be looking at the dvandvas which come, the pairs of opposites which we constantly face in our life, likes, dislikes, honor, dishonor, like that. All the dvandvas, one must be able to look at them with titiksha, forbearance, samata. Then, understanding that in this life, every creature has sukha and dukkha. It comes as in a cycle. Everybody has to undergo. So, not to be depressed by dukkha and not to be elated by sukha. Know that this is the nature of this creation. Then there should be inquiry into who is God, what is this I, what is this world, what is my relationship, what is devotion. So the usual life that one is leading, the life is we get born, we grow up, we get educated, then one gets married, one will have children, one will settle the children. After bringing them up, one becomes old and dies. This is the usual life. Is this the life, or is there a higher purpose in this life? Not this usualness. Is there any higher purpose? that kind of inquiry. What is the aim of life? That inquiry one must have. And tapasya, one must undergo austerity when one is living a life. And I was discussing how in Bhagavad Gita, the sattvika austerities have been described for the body, then the speech and the mind. See, when we are awake, these are the three things that we are undergoing. With the body, we do our activities, we speak, and the mind is constantly thinking. The mind thinks. We express it into words with our mouth, and our limbs and our senses are going to many things. Our limbs are working. So, what are the tapasya that we should do? Sattva guna we must increase. So, what should be our attitude towards all this? We have discussed. It's given in great detail in Bhagavad Gita. Iha nivritya. We should be working not for personal gain, but for the whole world, considering it as a yajna. Then how will these be done? How can we have interest to do this? Then Rishabha says, think about me, talk about me, mat karma bhihi. Do all the work offering to me. Whatever you do from the time you get up in the morning to the time you sleep off. All the activities that we do, we will be doing activities, with some bodily activities will be there, some domestic activities will be there, some professional activities will be there, societal activities will be there, all kinds of activities we should be doing for the sake of the Supreme, offering it to Him, understanding that He is everything. So, this will be definitely possible if we have a love for the Supreme. How will that get generated? He says, mat kathaya cha nityam. Talk about me, discuss about me, read about me, listen about me. Either God, since I am taking the slokas from Bhagavatam, he says about God. Otherwise, about the self, about Brahman, from the Upanishads, from Bhagavad Gita, from Yoga Vasishta, wherever you read about that self, Brahman or God, and develop a love for that. Maddeva Sangat. Again, how will this talking about or listening, that will be done regularly? Maddeva Sangat. Have the Sangha, the association with people who are in me. That is the holy people, the Sadgurus, the Mahapurushas, the Mahatmas. And whenever you can, always, if it is possible, may Gunakirtanat, you sing bhajans, chant slokas, sit together and take my name. Now I'm remembering something. We had gone to Jamshedpur. And there, apart from the regular lectures, Swamiji also gave lectures. I had to give some lectures. Swamiji said one day that we must have some bhajana. So on the holy day, where color was put at Swamiji's holy feet, everybody did pranam. There was lot of bhajan. Also, there were dana satras where we gave out blankets and bed sheets to the needy people. Then also there were a lot of bhajans. So this bhajana, when we do bhajan, when we do kirtan, our mind becomes focused on God, focused on God. Now, this, if we try to do this, if nothing is there, we can sit somewhere and sing. If we cannot sing, we can listen to some good songs. Even if we do not have tune ourselves, if we are alone also, we can hum to ourselves good songs. That will generate lot of bhakti towards the Supreme. So, then he says, okay, these are the things. Then comes, he has listed out this word, nirvairaha. Do not have any enmity towards anybody. See, suppose we do all these things. There are many people who will be going to temples, who will be singing kirtan and bhajan, who will be going and listening to many Mahatmas, giving out satsang in their own house. But they are angry in nature, irritable in nature. They are very harsh and rough in dealing with people. That will not do. Because all these tendencies will not make the mind calm. If you allow such tendencies which are Rajasika or Tamasika, the mind will not become calm. So, nirvairaha. Do not keep any kind of enmity or anger towards anybody. Adveshta sarva bhutanam. In the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, Adveshta sarva bhutanam. So, have that quality. So, my dear children, why are we doing this? All these qualities we have to develop. Then we must have samya, samatha towards everybody. We should, even if there is anger in the mind, likes and dislikes in the mind, all those should be sublimated. Then we must not have this feeling of mindness in one's body and the family. Constantly we must think that I am not this body. This body is perishable. The soul is not. The soul is eternal. The body is transitory. Constantly thinking like this, remembering, reminding oneself whenever one can. Mark my words, whenever one can. We will be doing a lot of work, as we said. There will be domestic work, professional work, societal work, so many kinds of work. But we may not be able to, in the midst of all that absolutely essential work, we may not be able to remember or remind ourselves. But whenever we can, whenever the mind is free, remember, remind oneself. And remember that all that I think that belongs to me, it actually does not belong to me. I belong to the Lord. I belong to God. Because from God or the Supreme, everything has come. The creation has come from the Supreme. So like this, these thoughts have to be constantly put and hammered in the mind, remembered. Because we did not make a habit of remembering this from childhood. So we have to work hard. Then we have to study the Shastras. The scriptures have to be studied. One should, and then I told, Vivikta Sevaya, one must have a feeling to go to a solitary place, be in solitude, so that all this pursuit, it can be done without disturbance. And then, in doing so, we also discussed how Vivikta Sevi means, Vivikta Sevaya, it's come in Bhagavad Gita, I was telling you, that it is necessary to go to a lonely place, to a place where there is no disturbance, where you can think, you can introspect, you can do vichara, because in our spiritual progress, we must do vichara. Nityanitya vastu vivekaha. We must think about that. And then, to bring about this sadhana chatushtayam, we must look into ourselves and see what are the tendencies which are hindering us, which are the obstacles in us. So, if there is constant disturbance from other things, then all this is not possible. So one must go, one must be in meditation, try to do samadhi and all that. But ultimately, what did we discuss? That suppose somebody doesn't have that opportunity, one must not be irritated by that, one must not feel unhappy by that. That is, one must develop a samatha towards that situation also. Suppose one does not have that opportunity or facility to go into solitude, then what is one supposed to do? You can become alone, solitary in your own mind. We are having sangha with everything of the world. Wherever our senses are going and the sense organs are interacting with various objects, we are having sangha for that. But the Atma, the self, is asanga. So, one will be having this vivikta sevitvam if one can remain only in that single thought of focusing, concentrating and remembering Brahman, self or God. That is, in the midst of a crowd, you can remain alone, not affected by the hustle, bustle and crowd and the noise. You can completely take recourse to this one thought, the single thought, the singular thought of God, of Brahman. It is very, very interesting to do. Very, very interesting. You know, in Rabindranath Tagore's songs, the collection which is called Gita Vitan. So with that, right in the beginning, there is a song. And in that song, when I was taught that by my teacher, there is a sentence where comes, Bahu janotar majhe apurbo eka. Bahu janata. Janata, you know, a crowd of people. Bahu is many. In the midst of lots of people, apurva eka, one can be alone in the midst of many, many people. The song is different. I mean, song is talking about life only. I'm not going into the song. But this sentence was there. And I was very young. I really thought that, oh, how beautiful this could be. Because at that time, only the thought came that how can there be this kind of a situation when there are so many people and you still feel that you are absolutely untouched by that crowd internally. And then, much later, when I heard this Shankaracharya's asangoham, asangoham, asangoham punah punah, I heard from Swamiji, Satchidananda Rupoham, Ahamevaham Abhyayah, that asangoham, it is that only. I am asanga, remaining in the most disturbed situation where there are many people, the hustle bustle of the world, so many things going around by your side, around you. One can remain absolutely untouched by completely remaining seated in the self, which is asanga. So that is the actual vivikta sevitvam. Then one has to restrain the prana, indriya and the mind. Sashraddhaya, one must have lot of shraddha. Shraddha towards the holy people, to the gurus, and following their words, what they tell us. Then brahmacharya, celibacy. Celibacy as well as brahmacharya is when you constantly dwell upon the thought of Brahman. And shashvat asampramadena, that is constantly remaining alert, that you are constantly having the goal or aim of your life in your front. What is the aim? The aim is to understand that I am not this body. I am the soul. I am the Atma. to understand that and to realize that Atma. That is the aim. So, asampramadena shashvat. Shashvat means constantly one has to be alert. We may be doing many things. To whom he is saying? Rishabha is telling the sons. And he is telling for whom? For the householders. So he is saying that householders or the people of this world, they let them do anything. But they should be absolutely alert, absolutely focused in their mind. Whatever they do, they should know the main aim of life is to ultimately know that I am the self. Or in this text, to be completely merging with God. To grow in bhakti in such a way that you become absolutely immersed in the feet of God. Then, yamena vacham, the speech should be controlled, restrained. How much time we lose just by speaking unnecessary things. Unnecessary things we are constantly speaking. So, this we have to see also, pursue also. In Bhagavatam there is a shloka where it says, Anyasya dosha guna chintanam ashu muktva sevagatha rasamaho nitaram pibatvam. Anyasya dosha guna chintanam ashu muktva. We constantly, if you look into yourself, you will find most of our talk is about others. We are constantly talking about others, constantly talking about things which has really no meaning. So, one should not think either of the guna or of the dosha of others and control the speech, and that is another pursuit. Sarvatra madbhava vichakshanena jnanena. Sarvatra, everywhere, one must see the presence of the Supreme Lord, God, and feel it, experience it. Vijnana virajitena yogena. And vijnana, not only have the knowledge that everything is God, not only that knowledge, one must get established in that knowledge. One becomes that knowledge. Till that time, one must pursue this path. And if one is able to do that, what is he saying? He says that if one is able to pursue this 25 qualities or cultivate these qualities, then what will happen is that aspirant, Kushalaha, lingam aham akyam vyapohet. That is, that feeling that I-ness, that I am this body with my buddhi, my mind, the senses, the prana, my ego, this name and form, which I call I, that I sense will be absolutely got over, removed. So he says that, my dear children, these are the things. Now, we have read these. Every time when we read this, it is not said just like that. Not said just like that. It is for the person who is reading, who is listening, to feel that I too can do this and I will do this. I will also pursue this. Otherwise, it just remains a knowledge that Rishabha had told these things. In 3 shlokas, he has given 25 points which one should pursue. But we must remember that we must pursue. And that is the sadhana. And about this sadhana only, constantly, my dear children, I've been constantly telling you that the sadhana becomes interesting. Just look at that. What does he say? He's saying that these points. Say, you must have a guru. You must take his instructions with bhakti. Hamse gurau mai bhaktya. That I did not tell. That is, one must have bhakti towards the guru. And which guru? The guru who is myself. He says that the guru is not just a human form. He is myself. I am in that guru. And who is saying? God is saying. This Rishabha is part of Mahavishnu. So he is saying that this you must do, have bhakti in Guru, go and get instructions from the Guru, and consider the Guru to be myself, and follow him. Then he says, dispassion towards the world. So we must see every day whether we are gaining in dispassion or not. Many of the things which we are interested in, we have to do vichara. Is it necessary? Is it necessary? What the joy that I am getting doing many things, out of all that, can I say that these are necessary? Can I leave them? Then leave them. You have to do vichara. The joy or the happiness that you are getting by doing many activities or whatever we are doing, does it give us permanent happiness? So this vichara is very important. So when it writes that grow in dispassion, it doesn't only mean that grow in dispassion. How will you grow in dispassion? There comes the sadhana chatushtaya. My dear children, I am taking from Bhagavatam. It's not that Bhagavatam, what it says, is different from what Vedanta says. Everywhere, if you are serious, if you are sincere, if you have understood that this life will be better lived, happily lived without fear, lived with a fullness, lived with love for everybody, then these are to be done. What? All this, grow in this, dispassion, then introspection, growing the qualities, growing in yearning. He says that dvandva titiksha. So you have to be equal in dvandvas. Generally what happens when there is something which we don't like or something which we like, there is irritation in the mind. So we have to go beyond that. Dvandvatita, samatva we must have, titiksha we must have. So like this, everything we have to do. And these are very important. We are understanding. I'm going through all this. We are understanding that these have to be pursued. But Rishabha is saying, mat karmabhihi mat kathaya cha nityam mat deva sangat me gunakirtanat me. This is very important. What you have been doing. I know many of you, you are quite sincere. You are listening to many such lectures, repeatedly listening. Many of you tell us that you are listening repeatedly. If anything you feel is applying to you, you are repeatedly listening to only that part. It's very nice to hear. That is how the sadhana should progress. So, all this he says, and then he says, if you can do this, what will happen is that your I-ness will be gone. Then what does he say? He says, Karmashayam hridaya granthi bandham avidyaya saditam apramattaha anena yogena yathopadesham samyak vyapohayo parameta yogat. Karmashayam hridaya granthi bandham. He says that the apramattaha, the deluded, ignorant man, to whom King Rishabha is giving this sermon, he is telling the general mass of people who are living in the world, in the houses, householders. The householders, what are they doing? What is their life? They are only interested in their family, possessions, their wife, husband, children, possessions, property, their achievements, and all that. They are only doing that. Though they are seeing that from every time this tapatraya is hitting one. Either there is adhidaivika misery or there is adhibhautika misery. If those two are not there, at least the adhyatmika misery definitely will be there. What is adhyatmika misery? Adhyatmika dukkha of the mind. Of the mind. From mind's own tendencies, because of desires, because of likes and dislikes, raga and dvesha. What we want, we don't get, we are angry. And when we are angry, we just completely forget ourselves. What we do, what we talk, what we still think, what we still plan, we have no control over ourselves. So, we are constantly under fear, stress, strain, anxiety, etc., etc. So, instead of becoming Atmaramaha, instead of having joy in oneself, Atmanyevatmana tushtaha, having the santushti, the contentment in oneself, in the self, one is constantly going outwards in search of happiness. This is the householders. Because they are ignorant. Because they are ignorant. They have forgotten that the real identity or the real self is absolutely unaffected, absolutely unattached. It is eternal and imperishable. They have forgotten. And that all the joy is in oneself. There is a fountain of joy inside. That joy does not depend on anything. No object. It doesn't depend on any object. It is there. It is coming out. But we don't look inside, so we miss it. We are looking outside for joy from this object, from that object, from this person, from that situation, like that. So, he is under delusion. He is ignorant. He doesn't know. So, Rishabhadeva is saying, the deluded, ignorant man, apramattaha. He is deluded and ignorant. He yathopadesham anena yogena, by the instruction of the teacher and by careful practice of above disciplines, by the instruction of the teacher and by careful practice of above disciplines, avidyaya asaditam karmashayam hridayagranthi bandham samyak vyapohya yogat uparameta. He says that instruction from the teacher has to be taken and one has to carefully follow those instructions. See, that is why he says that go to the Guru. Because when you are following the instructions, if you are not succeeding, if you are having difficulty, if you are having any hindrance or obstacle, your Guru will be able to guide you. That is why a Guru is necessary. And after doing so, after completely overcoming the knot of the heart, he said that if you follow these instructions, you will be able to overcome the knot of the heart. What is that knot? I-ness, the I-sense. This which is born of the ignorance. Ignorance, what ignorance? That I am this body. Mistakenly identifying with the body, mind, intelligence, thinking this is I. That ignorance. you will be able to be free, liberated. So, in this sloka, what is very important is that by the instruction of the teacher and by careful practice of the above disciplines, this by the instruction of the teachers. See, that is why these instructions or about the disciplines have to be pursued as instructed by the teacher, not by one's own study. Do you understand? That is, I have read many things, I have listened to many things, I have made an idea about what should be the path, what should be the discipline. If some mistake is there, I know how to solve it. No. Anena yogena yathopadesham. You must get guided by a teacher. That is why, my dear children, many times I have said, one must have questions. This time in Jamshedpur also, there was I don't remember now what was the title of those talks. So I asked people that please tell me some questions so that I can talk on that. So question is necessary. Question is very necessary. And questions will be coming into the mind if you practice. Suppose you practice and you find that no, though the guidance is this, though the instruction is this, I find that I am not succeeding or I am not progressing. So you have to tell the teacher that why it is so. The teacher will come into a discussion with you. He will find where you have to improve yourself, rectify yourself, or purify yourself. So that is why the instruction and the association of a guru is very, very essential. Putramscha shishyamscha nripo gururva manloka kamo madanugrahartha itham vimanyur anushishyad atajnan nayojayet karmasu karma mudhan kam yojayan manujortham labheta nipatayan ashtadrisham hi garte. See what he is saying. It's Srimad Bhagavatam, very, very clear cut. It sometimes says, clear cut. Just see what he is saying. Putramscha shishyamscha nipo gururva malloka kamo madanugrahartha. He says, whatever I have told you, the instructions about the disciplines pursuing which one will be able to remove the I sense and be established in the self. Putrancha shishyancha nripaha guruhu va. These instructions should be given by a father to a son, a teacher to a disciple, and a king to a subject. Are these being done now? Nowadays? These are our Shastras. Our Shastras have said this, that these instructions which will take away this attachment to the family, attachment to the body, because of which human beings are constantly suffering, undergoing misery after misery. And the Shastras are continuously telling us how to get away from this attachment and become free, liberated. So he says that these instructions should be given by a father to a son. How many sons are being instructed by their fathers? Fathers themselves do not know. They have not been told by their fathers. When in our country all these have stopped, who knows? We are not told in our schools, colleges, higher institutions, neither in our homes by our elders, that you must seek to know the self. Study, read. There are many subjects to be studied, the academic subjects. Build up your career, but know very well that the mind and intelligence is there, given by God, by which you can seek the self which is unaffected, fearless, unattached, eternal, imperishable, immortal. Nobody tells us. Nobody tells us how to deal with this mind and intelligence. Nobody tells us if we are fearful, how to deal with it, by which thought, in the face of fear or adversity, we can still remain unaffected. We have not been taught in our educational institutes or in our houses. If we are facing nervousness, facing some calamity, what are the thoughts which will still make us remain unaffected, still brave, courageous, confident, and with hope? We are not taught. But what is he saying? Putrancha shishyancha nripa guruhu va. By a father to a son, a teacher to a disciple, and a king to a subject, these instructions should be given. And why should these instructions be given? Malloka kamaha, mad anugrahartha. If they wish to attain to my state or aspire for my grace, then these instructions to be given. That is, if anybody wants to have my state, that is, attain my state, then these instructions should be given. Itham vimanyuhu anushishyat. In this manner, it should be done patiently, without getting annoyed, even when they are found unreceptive. See how beautifully they have written. He's saying that don't get annoyed if you are giving these instructions, whether it is a guru giving to a disciple, father giving to a son, or a king giving to a subject. If you find that the student is not able to receive it or not able to progress, don't get annoyed. Tell him again and again, tell him again and again. That is why so many repetitions are there in our Shastras also. Constantly the same thing is repeated again and again in various chapters. Sometimes the same sloka will be there. So, in this manner, it should be done patiently, without getting annoyed, even when they are found unreceptive. Atadyan karma mudhan karmasu na yojayet. They should not be allowed to get more and more engaged in works for sensuous gratifications. What is that? The elders, see here, father to a son means father is elder to the son. Teacher to a disciple, he is the guru. And king to a subject, so king is the higher one, a subject is subordinate. So the elders should tell the youngsters or whoever is subordinate to them, give them these good, noble instructions. What? Whole life do not spend in sensory pleasure. Just acquiring things, acquiring property, acquiring things to enjoy. They should not be allowed to get more and more engaged in works for sensuous gratifications. Kim manujaha kam artham labheta nashtadrisham yojayan garte nipatayan. Indeed, what would one achieve by pushing those without discrimination? To whom these instructions are being given? Those who do not have knowledge of the self, the ignorant and the deluded one. To them, Those who are knowledgeable, who has got the knowledge, they are giving the knowledge. So, when we see somebody who is ignorant, deluded, they are wasting their time, their whole life, only going behind sensory pleasures, which are absolutely what? Transitory and perishable, which are adyantavantaha, which will never give you any permanent sukha, permanent happiness. When we are knowing it, we are seeing it, we should try to tell them, my dear, don't waste your time only in this. Use your time fruitfully. Do not go only after pleasures of this world, which are transitory, which are perishable. Also seek that knowledge which will give you permanent happiness. Nashtadrisham, see, these words used are so beautiful. Nashtadrisham. This Nashtadrisham is being used for those who are not having the discrimination to understand what is good in life, to be only acquiring things or otherwise to be also seeking God or the self. They do not have that knowledge, do not have that discrimination. They do not know what is good and bad in their lives. And mostly people are like that. If you look around you, you will find how many people are coming to listen to the spiritual lectures. How many, even after listening, are pursuing. How many, even after pursuing, are feeling that we have to progress? Very few. Very few. You can count in your fingers. Very few. Knowing that this life will only give us ultimately dukkha. What? Maybe you have escaped dukkha in your life. But ultimately, when the body becomes sick, the body becomes diseased, there is fear. How will the end be? How will the end be? Will I have to suffer bodily? Will I be dependent on people? Will I be bedridden? Will there be people to look after me? This fear. Even if one has been very, very fortunate to escape every kind of misery in this life, this fear will be there. Kaye kritantad bhayam. You know this sloka? Bhoge roga bhayam. We may have many things to enjoy. Many, many things we have acquired. We are acquiring and acquiring, constantly wanting to get more and more and more money and comfort and luxury to keep oneself in comfort and the family in comfort. We feel that we have got a lot of money, so we are absolutely secure. We have a lot of money. If we are sick, we will go to a good hospital under good doctors. Bhoge roga bhayam. We may have many things to enjoy. Roga bhayam. There will be the fear of disease. So I am not going into that shloka. I have taken it many times. There that line is there. Kaye kritantad bhayam. And when body is there, ultimately there is the fear of yama, death. Even today, one old lady, she had called me. She calls me sometimes. Very devoted lady. Very devoted lady. Whenever she talks, there is devotion coming out of her words. But she was saying that, please bless and tell Swamiji to bless, that it should not happen that I have to lie in bed under the care of people. It should not happen. So then I was remembering a similar thing. Another old lady, very old, very devoted. She was very active also. Even at old age, she was very active, very much given to sadhu seva. Even at old age, she will cook and feed the sannyasins. So, 1 year after that, within few months, she passed away. It was known that she has a very fatal disease. So she was saying that, Swamiji, please bless me, that I don't have to depend upon anybody. I should die without giving any trouble to anybody. Since she was very spiritual, Swamiji kept quiet for a while and then said, you know, you should not even desire that you should die peacefully without any trouble, without giving any problem to anybody. May you not have even that desire. That is also a desire. So, these people, ignorant and deluded people, they only think that they are secure in this if they are able to remain comfortable. Nashta drisham. Their drishti towards life, nashta. It is all bad. It's not the correct one. It is not the wise one. It is not the enlightened drishti. So, they do not have that discrimination to understand what is good and what is bad, what is real, what is unreal, what is permanent and what is transitory. That introspection, that vichara, that viveka is not there. So, when we are seeing that, say, in front of us, we are seeing about whom Rishabha is telling, father, teacher and a king. He is saying that when a king or a father or a king is seeing in front of them people deluded, ignorant, and they are spending all their time in sensory pleasure and not building up their spiritual wealth, if they do not stop them or give them these instructions, it is as if they are allowing them to fall in a pit of worldliness. Lokasvayam shreyasi nashta drishtihi yorthan samiheta nikama kamaha anyonya vairaha sukhalesha hetoho ananta dukkham jana veda mudha lokaha स्वयं श्रेयसि नष्ट दृष्टिः योर्थान् समीहेत निकाम कामः अन्योन्यवैरः सुखलेश हेतोः अनंत दुःखं च न वेद मूढः. The ignorant men of the world without a proper awareness, nashta drishtihi, without a proper awareness of their ultimate good. What is the ultimate good? To be knowing oneself, the real identity. They have lost sight of that awareness. That I am the self. That awareness they have lost sight of. So, nashta drishtihi, they are ignorant. Yaha lokaha swayam shreyasi nashta drishtihi nikama kamaha arthan samiheta. And what do? They acquire objects of enjoyment out of their intense desire for them. They think that they have intense desire to acquire and enjoy. In doing so, sometimes they are unsuccessful. They will get either very depressed or very angry or very fearful, impatient. All these tendencies will disturb their mind. The mind will become agitated. They are okay with it. Nikama kamaha arthan samiheta sukhalesha hetoho anyonya vairaha. And this petty objects which are temporary, which are giving temporary happiness, small happiness, the happiness that they get from these things which they are wanting to acquire and possess, the happiness is temporary. Sometimes the happiness may remain for a long time, but temporary definitely. It is antavantaha. It will disappear, no doubt. Suppose you have got something you want, say A, an object A, or whatever. We get it. We are getting happiness out of it for a long duration. But that long duration is not eternal. It will have its end at some time. So, the Vivekavan, those who have discrimination, those who have vichara, viveka, they introspect and understand that these happiness, or whatever happiness we get from outside objects, they are having a fixed lifetime. It is only short-lived. It will never be eternal. But these ignorant people, because they do not understand that, they have nashta drishti. Their drishti is having a covering or completely gone. That is why they are not able to see clearly what is going to happen in their life. When our drishti, our vision is clear, we will be able to see. Suppose one has cataract, one is not able to see properly. So these people, because of ignorance, because of lack of discrimination, their drishti or awareness is nashtaha. So thinking that I will get happiness from this, that, sometimes they become inimical to one another, competitive to one another, and suffer. Very, very true. A person might have bought a car and very happy. That design of a car, he is the one who is having in the neighborhood. So for a long time he will be very happy, feeling very great. And after some time, either the car gives trouble, so you have to suffer because of that, or somebody else whom you know has bought another costlier car. So there is a competition between oneself. Because of competition, gross competitions and subtle competitions of the mind. Subtle competitions of the mind. Not, able to tolerate when somebody does good. That is a subtle competition in the mind. You are not able to feel happiness, or you are not able to appreciate mentally when something is good in another's family. Such competitions, it is only because of ignorance and delusion. Ananta dukkham moodhaha chana veda. These moodhaha, the foolish people, they suffer ananta dukkham, misery without end. Misery without end. Because they feel that, everything is happiness. They do not understand or calculate and even see that everything is not happy. If they suffer, they will cry and wail, but will do the same thing again. Anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. That is why Krishna is telling Arjuna that this lokam, this world, is anityam asukham. O Arjuna, so please, you worship me. Try to attain me. Bhajasvamam. This is what everywhere it is said. Kastam swayam tadabhigyo vipaschit avidyayam antare vartamanam drishtva punastam sagrina kubuddhim prayojayed utpathagam yathandham. Kastam swayam tadabhigyo vipaschit avidyayam antare vartamanam drishtva punastam sagrina kubuddhim prayojayed utpathagam yathandham. See, in various slokas, 2-3 slokas, he is saying the same thing. Saying what? Saying the same thing, that if one is wise and one is kind, then one must understand that what is the life which will give you permanent happiness, permanent peace. That is by knowing yourself, knowing God. And when they see people who are deluded, who are ignorant, who do not understand anything, who are Rajasika, Tamasika, then seeing them pursuing that kind of a life which will only bring about misery to those people, definitely they should try to bring them back, giving them these sermons, giving them these instructions. If they are not ready to listen, in somehow or other, try to make them understand what is good for them. So in this shloka also, he says, Kastam swayam tadabhigyo vipaschid avidyayam antare vartamanam drishtva punastam sakrina kubuddhim prayojayedutpathagam yathandham. Kaha tadabhigyaha. Which person who knows what is good? Tad abhigyaha. Abhigya means one who knows. Tad abhigyaha. One who knows what is good. And is also vipaschit, that is, he is wise also. Sagrinaha, kind and merciful. So, which person who knows what is good is also wise, kind, merciful. Tam swayam avidyayam antare vartamanam drishtva punaha utpathagam drishtva. So such a person, seeing a person in ignorance and going in wrong direction, would encourage that unintelligent, deluded person, ignorant person who is addicted to this path of samsara to follow the wrong path. That is, a person who knows what is the right path in this life, because he has tread this path. He has tread this path. He knows how to go beyond these miseries in this life. Sukha and dukkha will constantly come. Taking what attitude, remaining in what attitude, attaining what, a person can remain in samatva, can remain unaffected in the midst of all kinds of waves that one has to face. He knows. So you can say, he knows how to go beyond the waves of this worldly ocean. So when he sees that unintelligent person, an ignorant, going in wrong direction means what? Only behind this samsara, only behind this narrowness of worldliness, behind the family, not wanting to understand how he can go beyond this. Such kind of a person going in the wrong direction, he will not, because he is kind and merciful, he will not be able to allow that person to go in that direction. So he is saying, why a king, why a father, why a guru should give these instructions to the people around them? Because if they are wise, merciful and compassionate, they should feel compassionate to these people who are going in the wrong direction, suffering and suffering. Ultimately it will be only suffering. They should stop them and try to bring them back. Otherwise, it is just like allowing a blind person go towards in a dangerous fashion. Suppose there is a pit and you are looking, you are seeing that a blind person is going that way. If we have a little bit of intelligence ourselves, if we have kindness and compassion, will we not go and catch hold of that blind person and stop him? We will not allow that blind person to go in the wrong direction, either it is a pit or maybe it is river. Blind man doesn't know he is going. he will fall into that pit or into the river. And being a wise person, having kindness, we cannot sit here and look at it. Definitely we will go and catch hold of that person and save him. All these slokas to say that. Save them. If you have this knowledge, if you have understood, whether you are a king, whether you are a guru, whether you are a father even, constantly give these instructions. Tell your subordinates, tell them, and save them from the whirlpool of this samsara, where I-ness creates lots of misery, attachment, delusional clinging, dukkha and dukkha, so many things. So, save them from getting drowned in the worldly ocean and give them at least tell them that there is a path. You can tread that path and you can be free of all the miseries, all the suffering. You can be in a state remaining where you will feel contented, and even if heaviest adversity falls upon you, you will be unaffected. You will still be joyful. Tell them that. Tirna swayam bhima bhavarnavam janan ahetunanyanapi tarayantaha. The gurus, they do that. Since they have crossed that path, they constantly try to save the people, giving them the knowledge, try to save them from this worldly ocean. I will take this again the next time in detail, more detail. I'll chant this sloka, which is actually with this particular sloka, the 18th sloka. This chapter I will finish. So I'll take these two slokas, the 17 and 18 next time. Gurur na sasyat svajano na sasyat pita na sasyat janani na sasyat daivam na tasyan na patischa sasyat namo chayet yas samupeta mrityum. We'll do this next time. I find these to be very, very helpful, always felt. And you know, you will, if you, what is it that we want? We want our mind to be quiet, not disturbed, not agitated by anything. Let anything come. We should be able to remain in oneself. Vivikta Sevi, true Vivikta Sevi, we should be. And see and feel God, feel Brahman, feel the self everywhere, every moment, inside, outside, on the sides, up, down, anywhere. Wherever our senses go, we will only see God and God alone. For that, whatever has to be done, we should be able to do. Sampurnam jagadeva nandanavanam sarvepi kalpadrumaha gangam vari samasta vari nivaha punya samasta kriyaha vachah prakrita samskrita shruti shiro varanasi medini sarvavasthitirasya vastu vishaya drishte parabrahmani sarvavasthitirasya vastu vishaya drishte parabrahmani. Jai Guru. Jai Guru.